So welcome to today's session. Today we are actually making our basic bread dough, I believe. The reason for that was that we wanted to make sure that we can use the same dough in several recipes.
Correct, yes. I kind of thought I'll show a basic recipe that you can then adjust for your family needs. So for me, it's a basic recipe that fits the two of us. So I like to have fresh bread all the time. So I make a smaller loaf. So I would think for a family, you could easily double that recipe, but that's up to you. You will see quite a few suggestions over the next weeks to come where I will refer back to that basic recipe.
Okay, so let's get started. What we have in terms of ingredients.
Okay, I have lukewarm water again in my bowl, 170 grams. We will be adding the yeast in a moment, but I'll go through the ingredients first. So it's hard, it's 1 to 2 grams of yeast, depending on how good your scale is. But so let's say 1 to 2 grams per yeast. If you want to use a spoon, that might be the only thing where I use a spoon for. I checked it earlier. It is 1/4 of a teaspoon. So I measured that for you. So you could also go here in that regards, a quarter size teaspoon. 5 grams of salt, 200 grams of bread flour, and 50 grams of whole wheat flour. So we have the lukewarm water in there. We'll be adding the yeast, mixing it in, and then we'll add the dry ingredients. All the time the flours first. So bread flour, whole wheat flour, and let's just make it a habit and do the salt as the last item, so that the salt does not get in touch really with the yeast. We use the wooden spoon, mixing that in.
So are you using wooden spoon? Is that easier or?
If I would stick with the other one in there, I would have that dough all over the place. So that wooden spoon is so easy to clean in a moment. So it's my preference. Some people maybe have a plastic spoon, that they use, but I just like that wooden spoon.
And I've seen bakers actually using their hands.
Yeah, we'll do that in a moment. Stay tuned here. It's coming.
Okay, sorry.
But I like to mix in the water first, otherwise it's all sticky.
So in the sessions to come, you gotta teach me how to make that dough too.
Oh, we will. We'll get there. We'll find a recipe for you one day, and you can show the guys out there how you do it.
Awesome. Looking forward to it.
So now we're just mixing it in, and it's much easier. Look at my hands; it doesn't really stick that much anymore.
Is there anything you can do so it's becoming a little bit more non-stick?
When we go to the next steps, it works well with water.
Oh, okay.
But right now, I don't want to add any more flour because that will make the dough even drier. And if I add more water, it will be a little sticky. So it's good. It's okay. It's not too bad. You'll get used to it when you try it.
Well, that's a real nice loaf for two, size-wise.
Yeah.
Well, it's gonna prove, so it's gonna get bigger, right?
Yeah, it looks small right now, but it's a good size. We should be able to eat 2 times, maybe 3 times from it.
Okay.
So
do you have to clean out the bowl a little bit, or?
yeah, I just used the little scraper to get it down. That there's.
Sorry, jumping the gun once in a while here, so.
Here we go.
Please forgive the ignorant.
Here we go. And that's pretty much it for the first round. So we'll be covering it with a towel and let it rest for the first 1.5 hours. So that's the first rest. We'll be back in 1.5 hours.
And now we're gonna take a look, and what will happen then?
Then we do what is called stretch and fold to get more air into the bread. Okay. You'll see. Stay tuned.
Okay, will do. See you in a bit. 1.5 hours later, let's look at the results, and if you want to reveal it.
We'll look.
Oh yeah, it kind of doubled in size.
Oh, it did, but it obviously is a smaller amount of dough today, so if we look at it, it doubled nicely in that regards.
I'll be honest, I could eat that alone probably, but hey, I'll share it
We'll
with you.
see.
You know, I'll
We'll
share
see.
it with you. I'm actually a nice
So
guy.
we're doing now the stretch and fold. So let me just.
So stretch and fold, what does that mean? Stretch and fold and purpose of the stretch and fold.
We'll get into it as I start.
Okay.
So I got
Go
my
ahead.
hands wet. I want to loosen the dough first. See here how nicely, there we go. So we stretch it, you can see, and then we punch it down. That's kind of the fold down technique. Then we turn it a little bit. Same here again, pull, stretch, down. And we'll do that a couple rounds in that regards. What it really does, you asked me that question, is you can tell already as I do it more often that it adds air in the dough. And if you look at the bread later on, it adds the nice little holes, bigger holes into the crumb at the end. And it will help us to kind of release that gluten and get that going in a nice way.
So what you're saying is that the gluten actually reacts, or is it disappearing? So it's not as gluten rich as a usual bread, white bread which you buy in the stores.
It's people would have to try how they digest it, you know, how it feels for them. But that's what I have read, that a lot of people are saying, and I have heard it from some friends that have gluten problems, that it is easier for them to digest and they have less stomach problems.
Okay.
So you can tell now, and it's maybe, you know, maybe you can see it on the video too, we're getting a nice little ball, and as I pull more, it doesn't really want to pull right now any longer. So that's when we have done it enough with the stretch and fold. So usually I loosen it up one more time and turn it around, and you can see already it's a nice bread shape.
That's nice and smooth compared to earlier.
Yeah. And we cover it now again, and we'll let it rest another 1 hour.
So we're gonna see you back in an hour and me taking the video, right?
Yes, that's the plan.
See you in an hour then. So 1 hour later, let's see the result.
The dough rose nicely. This process concludes our basic dough preparation now. From here on forward, we can now put the dough in the refrigerator, overnight it, prepare tomorrow morning, or prepare right away. You will find this as a reference in my other baking tutorials for further preparation.
So what can we make out of it?
We can make bread for two, we can make hamburger buns, other buns, little mini rolls. There's different options.
And we have baking videos for all of those.
Correct.
All right. So see you next time.